Hey, you guys. I know it's been a while since I've done an analysis video. So let's talk about gold. We are in Q4 now, and we have reached, new all-time highs at around 4,300, almost 4,400. And we have now gotten a pullback. Personally, I gold may be ready to drop. Okay, so I am definitely going to take a risk on a sell. And that's only because if we go here to the weekly time frame, we got a double top. Okay, you go to the daily time frame, we have a triple top. Not only that, it's the fundamentals as well that do not support bullish momentum right now. I mean, the government is shut down. We have no updates on jobs data. Jerome just cut interest rates at 0.25 base points. So, with that being said, um, gold isn't really moving off of anything besides, technicals. Um, Although on the 4 hour, we are getting some accumulation for buys, it's just not strong enough to create any higher highs at all. Um, so yeah, I took a position today for a sale that literally took forever. Not gonna lie, I took two losses before I were even able to get in on this sale, just because gold did this drop here, and this was during New York session, so it's still New York session, but you'll get the point. So this is the 15-minute time frame. I noticed resistance here, but not only that, this is also London's high. So usually, in order for us to go down, if we've been up, we need to see a break of structure. So I trade breakouts and break of structure as well. I'm pretty skilled in a myriad of strategies, but I try to just, for the most part, I stick to breakouts. Anyways, so I wasn't expecting for gold to make this ridiculous drop like what it did. So I kind of assumed that it was ready to start going down. So I took a couple sales here. I had a very tight stop loss. So it wasn't a major loss, but still, it's just a simple fact of having to wait to get through all of this fluctuation and noise here to finally get the breaker structure for London highs. So that way we can go ahead and start this swing sell. I'm pretty much looking for gold to drop, at least 1,000 pips. I'm a swing trader, so I go for those bigger moves. My entry is, well, I have three open positions. So my first entry is going to be at 39.88, 46. And then I just went ahead and stacked some entries here, 39.84 and 39.82. So, um, in order for this sale to be valid, we totally need to get a break of structure at this 39.56.76, which is a major support level in the daily time frame. And honestly, this trade could really go, it could go against me. And the reason why I say it could go against me is because, I have a certain way that I mark up my charts. I love using the Fibonacci retracement tool. And how I use it is I, because, the trend is bullish, obviously, on the higher time frame. But again, in your lower time frames, we're getting retests to the downside. So I like to look for higher lows on the daily time frame. This is the most visible higher low that I can see that has not been broken below. So I'm going to drag this Fibonacci up to this triple top here on the daily time frame. And what do you know? We are sitting at the 0.618% on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So obviously this is why you see pullbacks here, from this level. I'm not the only person who actually uses Fibonacci's or, trades on Fibonacci's. But this is why I say the trade could go either way, because we're sitting at this level and we are trying to accumulate, momentum for buyers to come in and possibly, create new all-time highs. It is November, and historically around this time, you either see some downward movements or consolidation for gold. And it's simply because, big money, they're taking their profits for the year. You got to think of it in a sense of just being more realistic. It's the holidays. And these are the holidays that are coming up are really holidays about family gathering. You got Thanksgiving and you got Christmas. And then right after that is New Year. So, that's pretty major. So I'm sure, people love to spend money. This is around the time where people are starting their Christmas shopping and things like that. Um, you know, these big corporations are ran by people who are human, just like me and you. So we all have things that we enjoy. You know what I mean? So again, with the simple fact that I don't really have any fundamentals that is even backing up this rally that gold took last night. Because yesterday I was in a swing sell. Yesterday I was in a sell, right? And I took my first trade at around, I hopped in at 39.95. So literally right here, somewhere in here, 39.95. Rode it all the way down into Asia session last night. I did secure, all of my profits just because I noticed this. And what do you know? Like I told you, I trade breakouts. So I love when I'm able to see a clear support and resistance, structure. Very, very clear. So, support and resistance is simply put consolidation that's moving in a box, It's moving just kind of in this like rectangle like structure. So as a breakout trader, obviously, if I were going to go, look for buys or sells, either need to break out of this resistance point to take a buy, or I need a breakout of this support level to take a sell. So really, once I saw break of structure, retest, came back down, and created a minor support level, continue to go up, that's when I just went ahead and secured my bag. And I was like, okay, gold is getting ready to do something weird. And I'm not going to risk all the hard work that I've already put in holding this trade for an entire, like 12 hours or so. So, anyways, um, like I said, I am taking this sale. It is semi-risky because of the simple fact that, we're sitting at that 0.618 level in the Fibonacci on the daily time frame. And, I'm not, I don't really recommend to like hold sales, with gold being as bullish as it is. So, this is not a signal. This is not me telling you to hop in the trade or anything like that. I am just simply sharing my analysis with you guys and in hopes that, maybe it helps some new traders, even some traders who's been, in the industry for a while, and maybe you're confused about market structure because I would totally be confused about, just seeing all this madness. Essentially this is a 4-hour time frame. So you can say that this is consolidation. If I were going to draw this up, being the breakout trader that I am, okay, this is exactly how I see it. This is how I see it, you guys. And as a breakout trader, I focus on the bodies of the candles. The wicks definitely does matter when it comes to, break of structure and things like that. Um, but for the most part, I'm very reliant on breaks of the bodies of these candles. And, I'm pretty successful. So it works out, it works out. But overall, um, I guess we can I'll just kind of go over, fundamentals with you guys a little bit. I have a fundamental data sheet that I created. Um, it's just a regular Google data sheet. And to simply put it, I need to share my screen. Let me just share my entire screen so you guys can see all of it. Oh, yeah, I don't need to see my email. Okay. So let me go here. Now, we did get news from ADP today showing that there's been 42,000 jobs added to ADP. So, I mean, that's good for the US. And, it makes sense why gold should be dropping, but I guess I guess this morning just had some different ideas because it's just been pushing up, all morning until we finally just got that break of structure and I'm finally, in a good position on myself. So, like I said, we'll just hold it and see what happens. But as you guys can see, like I update this fundamental data sheet every week. You guys can totally join my WAP, and this data sheet is available to you guys. Even if you just choose the free option, this is accessible to you. So, we don't have any new data for jobless claims, no jobs added. And these are just categories that I personally track that I have, um, what's the word? In my experience as a trader with gold, these are categories that I notice that actually gets gold moving, on top of, just other geopolitical things. We all know that gold likes wars and things like that too. So haven't heard any data or information about that. Also, gold definitely does move off of, Trump and his trade wars. So that is something for you guys to make sure that you watch. But other than that, not to get off topic or anything like that, but again, no information on unemployment rate. Inflation rate right now is at 3%. Fed rate cut, like I said, 0.25 base points. And he stated that there possibly would not be a rate cut for December. So I'm wondering if it's like some private data that he sees as private jobs data that he sees that kind of tells him it may not be a good idea to cut rates. And, I'm kind of wondering why, because the month of August, July, August, and September are just funny months for jobs data. And, personally, I think the rate cuts are good. People need homes, people need cars. Big businesses need to continue to develop their businesses to create jobs for people. So, we need these rate cuts. But the killer is the inflation. Prices on everything is extremely high. So it's like if we, just kind of, I don't know, knock prices down, America might be a little bit sustainable. Our freaking GDP is crazy. You know, we've reached new highs as far as debt. And, that's not really the greatest thing for this country, especially with it. with our government losing support, just from civilians. We're not trusting our government, maybe like the baby boomers did. So this is a really trying time right now. Essentially the Fed is borrowing money from future generations. So it's like it's not helping it, or the future is just, it looks real questionable financially. The US dollar is definitely weakening as far as power. So, and it's losing its power at a very rapid pace. And, I sometimes I just don't know how to keep up, because even though I've been successful at trading, there are, there are times where I can feel, this financial crisis too. Emergencies freaking happen. So I'm sure all of us can appreciate having a nice amount in our savings. You know what I mean? So, when those unexpected events take place, obviously, some people do have to dip into those savings and things like that. So it could just really throw off a lot of things when it comes to, just your household responsibilities, especially you guys with kids. So I don't have kids, so respectfully, thank goodness. I have no idea, what I would do in this economy if I were someone who were just working a 9 to 5. So, anyways, I hope that you guys like do all that you can to just like stay afloat and not, just I don't even know what to say. I just feel for people who just don't have it to be able to just like take care of their needs. So, you guys, like, if you don't have a job, please get a job. Like, we are living in a time today where getting a job is easy. If you are, one of those who are saying, oh, I can't, I've been applying and applying and all of that. Listen, the quickest way to get on a job, go through a temp agency. And I'm sure you have plenty of temp agencies in your local area. It's pretty simple. Get on Indeed, do those easy apply, applications and things like that. These companies are hiring y'all. So it's just it's just those of you guys who are in like those positions where you're in like the 6-figure bracket and stuff like that, it may be difficult for you guys, but those of y'all who are just like, everyday people and all of that, listen, job opportunities are endless. You know, Start with customer service or warehouse. That's your best bet. But, anyways, moving forward, as you guys can see, my data sheet does continue with information that is super valuable as far as understanding how gold works with inflation and interest rate hikes. So right now we're just in a situation where rates have been cut. Okay, so and inflation is pretty neutral. So with that being said, that does favor the bullish side for gold. So I can understand why buyers are buying dips. Okay. Um, but most importantly, just understand that sometimes buying dips is not the best. You got to know when, the best time is to do that. So, um, once if this sale does play out the way that I am, analyzing for it to play out, then I will be looking for gold to bottom out at some point, towards the end of this year. And I'm going to look for me a position trade, because gold is really the only pair that I trade. Actually, I've been getting into NASDAQ, and I'm actually in a NASDAQ trade right now. And it's going really, really good, really well. I'm actually not on the future side in the trade, but I'm on the Forex side in a trade on NASDAQ. And literally, this is my entry. Okay, let me see. Put this price label here. This is literally my entry. So I've been holding this since last night. I'm pretty sure you're wondering, how did I even know that it was going to do this? Well, like I said, I trade breakouts. This is clearly this is supply and demand structure as well. When it comes to breakouts, well, supply and demand, the demand zone always gets retested. So the demand zone is essentially, for me, it's the breakout. So this is the start of the breakout. We got some resistance here, and this was on the 4 hour. And once I saw this break of structure with this doji candle, I knew that it was going to be a drop. So I rolled the cells right on down to this 4 hour breakout zone here. And then I said, you know what? Time to make it happen. What sold me on going in for my buy was the simple fact that, we created a double bottom here, for one. And for two, it's just the fact that we were sustaining above this breakout zone. So I'm just going to continue to hold this. And NASDAQ is very much so bullish. Like, NASDAQ is bullish. Okay. Anytime we get these rate cuts, you can definitely expect some downward movement. It's just a drop, a dump for a pump. That is all it is. So I would honestly say always look for buys on pullbacks for NASDAQ. I know NASDAQ can move pretty crazy, which is why I haven't always traded this pair, but I'm really liking the price action on NASDAQ here lately. So you might have a new trader, NASDAQ. I don't know just yet, but you keep giving me structure like this, then I definitely will consider, maybe switching from, making gold my primary pair to possibly making NASDAQ my primary pair. So, anyways, I'm not going to make this video too long, you guys. I just really wanted to share my analysis and just kind of show you guys, where I'm at with gold and how I've been doing with gold and things like that. So, like I said, right now I am in a sell. I'm going to continue to hold this until otherwise, until structured. Basically, I get stopped out. Um, and, I'm going to trail my stop loss into profit, obviously. So, once, let's see, once I get a break of this low here, which is basically about 39.64, at that point I will start dragging my stop loss into profit based on lower highs. And yeah, we'll just see what happens, you guys. Like I said, this is a risky play because we're sitting at such a critical level on the daily time frame. But I have two confluence confirmations for the sell, which is your double top on the weekly and your triple top on the daily. All right. And the simple fact we have not created a higher high on the 4 hour at all. Like the 4 hours respecting support levels. So, we're getting rejection here at this break of support. So that's just confirmation for sales. All right. So I hope this helps you guys. And, we'll definitely talk soon. Bye.